Hello. So now it's the third video of topic 2, and we're going to look at key generation and encryption. So a key derivation function is a special type of cryptographic hash function that takes in a secret value and derives a key. Because the first algorithm I'm going to talk about, DiffieHellman Key Exchange, actually exchanges secret values, and you have to put those values into a key derivation function in order to get the actual cryptographic hash that you're going to use. So there's lots of key derivation functions. You can just get open source code. There's lots of Java code. Here's a list of a few different types where you can just click on it and get the code. If you're into that sort of thing, here's a Java library as well on that link. We're going to focus on the secret key generation, the number theoretic algorithms. DiffieHellman Key Exchange, actually, as I said, it only shares a secret value, and Rivest-Shammir-Adleman RSA cryptography. Actually, both of these are US patents, but neither Diffie nor Hellman, Rivest-Shammir or Adleman actually invented these things. They were invented by other people, but we'll get to that story in a minute. So generates a secret value to use in a key derivation function, which gives a symmetric key. In other words, Alice and Bob are going to use the same key as each other, and they both lock and unlock using that key. And the RSA cryptography, there's Alice will have two asymmetric keys, so will Bob or anybody else using that. So Alice shares, if I'm Alice and I'm sending Bitcoin from my wallet to Bob, then I will send the details of the transaction, how much I'm sending and that sort of thing. And I need to know his public key, and I give him my public key so that we can exchange them. But I always keep my private key to myself. So with Diffie-Hellman, suppose we want to decrypt a message using public channels. We're going to send a message on the public chat channels and we have to decrypt it. So first of all, we agree on a prime number and a generator for that prime. And this information is public. So we can send it through unsafe channels and it doesn't matter. So remember, a generator is for any prime, let's say 7. And if 3 is a generator of 7, then the powers of 3 will be congruent to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, no, not 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And not in that order necessarily, that, 3 is congruent to 3, 3 squared is congruent to 2, and so forth, okay? But the generator, you get all those different numbers less than the prime. Now, Alice will secretly choose some number A and calculate a public value, K sub A, using the power of G. And although people know Ka and they know G, this is the discrete logarithm problem. So knowing K and P and G, when all of these things are very, very large numbers, doesn't give you A. It's not possible to find that. You could try trial and error. It would take absolutely ages, very large computers. But actually, you can break these algorithms, which is why in the next topic, we are going to be talking about more sophisticated ones, but not in so much detail. It's easy enough to understand, I hope, the basic principles between symmetric and asymmetric key exchange. So Bob does similarly. He chooses some secret B and calculates G to the power B, and they publicly exchange Ka and Kb. Now Eve, who is evil, can intercept Ka and Kb, but she can't find A or B because of this discrete logarithm problem. So she can't decrypt them. Only Alice and Bob can find their shared secret value. And they do this in equivalent, slightly different ways. So Ka is G to the power A. So Ka to the power B is G to the power AB, whatever that reduces to modulo P. Similarly, KB is G to the power B. So Alice applies her secret A to get G to the AB, same number. So they don't have to tell each other what A and B are, but they can still derive this shared secret value. But Eve can't. Here's an example. Suppose the prime is 13 and 7 is a generator of 13, so that will do. So 13 and 7 are public, but Alice suggests her private A is 2. So she can get 7 squared, which is 49. And if you take off 10 from 49, you get 39, which is 3 times 13. So 7 squared is congruent to 10, not 13. And she'll send 10 publicly to Bob. Suppose Bob selects a private number B, say 4, and then take it from me. 7 to the power 4 is congruent to 9 mod 13. So he sends 9 publicly to Alice. And then Alice applies her secret 2 to 9. 9 squared is 81, which is congruent to 3 mod 13. And similarly, Bob takes 10 to the power 4, which is also congruent to 3 mod 13. So their shared secret value, essentially the same calculation, is something that Eve can't intercept. But Eve only sees the blue numbers, so she can't find 3. Actually, there's a very nice set of videos on the Khan Academy about all this stuff. So if you want to find out more, it's taking a while to log on. I hope my internet is all right. There we are. We shall see. Sometimes I do these videos and I end up really, really slow. Let's hope it's not happening to this one. I'm not going to play this, but what I want to tell you is that this one and the RSA encryption parts, you can go into more detail if you want, are really well explained, just to start off.
Now, this is our solution. First, Alice and Bob agree publicly on a prime modulus and a generator. In this case, 17 and 3. Then Alice selects a private random number, say 15, and calculates 3 to the power 15.
Okay, well, it's pretty slow at the moment. It's a very good website, the Khan Academy. So I won't play any more of that. Right, so what about RSA? Here you can see the patent applied for in 1977 and given to these 3 guys from MIT. But actually, it was invented in 1973 by Clifford Cox and James Ellis. Here's their profiles here. Clifford Cox, he looks just like a mathematician who works for GCHQ, doesn't he? You know, that's the general the government communications headquarters during the war. So everything was top secret, and there was a lot of cryptography going on, of course, it being quite a new subject that had been recently developed. And James Ellis as well. They both worked on, there's more information about him there if you want. So it was patented by these cryptographers, and likewise the DiffieHellman one got the credit, but it was actually invented by someone called Malcolm Williamson, who also works for GCHQ. And actually these guys actually asked the British government to make it public that they'd already invented it, but they didn't. So there we are. That's why it's called RSA and not Cox-Ellis or Williamson. All right. So the idea is about asymmetric key exchange with a private and a public key. And suppose Alice wants to send a message to Bob. And so she wants to verify to Bob that she sent the message, not anybody else. So when I'm making a transaction, when I'm going to be using public-private keys, I'm going to send my message and the encryption and Bob will be in the network. I will have already given him my public key. And so when Eve intercepts this, she won't have the public key, so she won't be able to do it. Only Bob will be able to do it. So although it's public, you should be able, I can give it to anyone I want. And if I give it to somebody malicious, then, you know, they could do something with it. So I have to trust who I give it to. So I hash the message, apply my key, and encrypt it using RSA, or actually more sophisticated encryption algorithm. And then there's an encrypted message as well as the original message. And this insecure channel that could be intercepted by Eve is what I use, you know, just sending it over the internet. But from the blockchain, on the secure channel, Bob has got my public key, and he takes the encryption, applies my public key to decrypt it, and he then takes the message to apply the same hash function as this, and then compares the two. Same, then Bob has verified that it was indeed me, doesn't know my private key, but it was me definitely who sent it, because only my public key would unlock it. So how does it work? Well, generally, you're going to generate products of many large primes. And as I said, everything else is also in hex, but I'm going to illustrate in simple integers. And then you need to generate any small odd number E that is co-prime with phi n, okay? So E can't be 2, but it needs to be co-prime with phi n, and phi n will just be p1 minus 1 times p2 minus 1 times pk minus 1. Okay, just for a single prime, the number of integers co-prime with 7 is 6, but the number of integers co-prime with 7 times 3 is 6 times 2, which is 12. So it's easy to generate phi n. So this pair, n and e, is the public key. And then Alice will generate her own private key as any integer d such that ed is congruent to 1 mod n. So as I go through the slides, we may want to keep that with us. So I'll just mention that n, say, is a product of p1, p2. Let's put this on. N is p1, p2, and then we've got e and phi n have got to be co-prime with e odd. And then the public key is going to be NE, and then the private key is any number E times D congruent to 1 mod n. Sorry. Okay, so that's the E is private. So here's some examples. Suppose n1 is 5 and n2 is 7. So n is 35, and phi is 4 times 6, which is 24. And then E has got to be congruent to, it's got to be co-prime with 24. 3 won't do, but 5 will. So the public key is 35, 5. And then the private key is some number D such that E, that's 5, times D is congruent to 1 mod phi n, mod 24. So 5 5s are 25, take off 1 is 24. So D is 5 in this case. Okay, it happens to be the same as E, but it's not always the case. For example, when P is 11 and P2 is 3, then N is 33, E is 3, and D is 7. Let's do this last one again. So we've got n is going to be 3 times 5 is 15. And so phi n is 2 times 4, which is 8. And we want a small number, which is an odd number co-prime with 8. That's going to be 2 isn't, 3 is. So E equals 3. And so the public key is going to be 15E. And now I want to find something so that 3 times something is congruent to 1 mod 8. And actually, again, we've got 3 times 3. 3 threes are 9. So D is going to be 3. This is 3, 15, 3. Okay. So now we know how to generate the public and private keys. How do we encrypt and decrypt given these keys? So suppose Bob wants to send an encrypted message. So that the encryption is C, that's public. The message M is private. So Bob uses Alice's public key, NE, to encrypt M by setting C is congruent to M to the power E mod N. We'll do an example in a minute. So Bob sends an encrypted message C, but not M to Alice, okay? Alice applies her private key D to decrypt C to find M. So it can be proved that when D is chosen in this way, as we did before, then we can decrypt where just because M is going to be congruent to C to the power D mod N. So in this case, it's not a verification. You can actually keep the M completely secret. You don't have to send that at all. You just send the hash or whatever your key generates. So here's an example. We just worked this one out, didn't we? Here that E was 3 and D was 3 when N is 15. So suppose the secret message is M equals 7. So now I've got to use this calculation from the previous slide to find C. So E is 3. So 7 to the power 3 is 343. And mod 15, take it from me that 343 is congruent to 13 mod 15. So C is 13. That's the encrypted message which gets sent across. And now applying the private key will get back to the encrypted message, the original message. So using this calculation here, we can calculate 13 to the power 3, that's 2197, which is indeed congruent to 7 mod 15. Magic, huh? So that's how to encrypt and decrypt based on RSA. That's the end of this video. I hope the speed was all right. I shall soon find out. Okay, bye for now.